new assistant. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg, I should have said that. Kristen is also my assistant. She's the lead assistant and outreach assistant, and Ruby's in training, and she's training up real well. She's training me too, because I don't know how to use some of these apps. So anyway,
Greg.
Great. So anyway, I'd like to go around and introduce yourselves to us. Greg, let's start with you. Hi, Greg, can you introduce yourself?
Sorry.
No, there you
Okay,
go.
I was muted. Greg Dinger, Mount Shasta West, and in the room with me is Neil Posson.
Hi, Neil.
Hi,
And then
Neil again.
and then Ruby, I'll let you introduce yourself. You're such a fresh face. I thought maybe I should say something. Go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ruby. Like Giselle said, I'm her assistant. I'm doing an internship with them this summer, and I go to Simpson University.
Hey, Carolyn.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Carolyn Nepper, and yeah, just joining the call. Thanks.
Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Murphy, and I'm the fuels planner for the SHMU, which is the most northern district of the Shasta Trinity, and happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Dan Blessing.
Hey, Dan Blessing with the Shasta Valley RCD.
Marlene.
Hi, I'm Marlene Ludlow, and I live in the Mount Shasta uplands, and I appreciate that all you guys are here. And I was at the meeting yesterday, albeit late, but but it's very informative. I mean, I've learned a lot, so I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marlene. Marlene is in our Eddie Drive project, and she was like our neighborhood coordinator. She kept everybody informed and going and helped. Anyway, Kristen, love the hat. Wow, farmer's
Thank
hat.
you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm not at the beach, even though it looks like I am. I'm standing in Ray's supermarket waiting for my son's birthday balloons to get blown up with helium. We had to come all the way back up here because the Dunsmuir dollar store was out of helium.
Oh,
so I
okay.
thought I would be home by now, but we had an unexpected detour to get these birthday balloons filled up. So I'm looking in on the road here.
Okay. How's your dad?
And I guess I should say I'm a resident of Castella currently, but we have property in Mount Shasta that we are building a home on. So I'm Giselle's assistant, but I'm also a semi soon to be resident of Mount Shasta.
Yeah, and she's the outreach coordinator. So every time you see those pop-ups with our name on it, that's all Kristen. She does excellent work, and she also is kind of the Firewise coordinator as well. So
yeah,
she is our Firewise coordinator as well. Okay, so we're going to switch up the action items a little bit. I'd like Brian to give us an update and tell us a little bit more about yourself, and give us an update for the projects in the Mount Shasta area.
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that. I'll start with the update that Drew sent me with. He wished that he could be on this meeting. He was planning on being here, but some things came up last minute, and I told him that I would just present his stuff. So he says, from the fire suppression side of the house, they've got 6 engines staffed. There's a couple that are 5 days a week, a couple others that are 7-day a week effective, but they have a good balance there. They've got good coverage. They've had a lot of success in some of the recent hiring events, which will help eventually with some of the middle management in the organization that we're lacking. And when those people eventually move up into those middle management positions, we'll have a much more robust workforce, and our staffing will be a lot easier, and we'll work toward that 7-day staffing for all the modules. We also have the dozer, the water tender, 3 patrols, And we did get our first lightning fire, which is traditionally called the Zot fire here on the unit. So we've had our Zot fire for the year. It was high in the eddies, up 7,500 feet. It wasn't doing much at all. They didn't even staff it the first night. It was picked up by an IR detection on a fancy new technology on a helicopter. And the guys got up there the next day and just found some hot rocks, but they mopped it up and put it out, and it was our first fire of the year. So
Right.
that's the fire suppression side of things. Things are drying up. We are in fire season. We've had some extended staffing already this year with the lightning event that heard some talk about earlier. We got a lot of strikes. We only got the one fire, but we're definitely geared up and ready to go. And then from the veg management side, from the fuels side of the shop, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the projects that we have going on right around Mount Shasta. So if you bear with me, I'll start at the north and work clockwise around. Just to the north of Mount Shasta, or the northeast, I should say, is our McBride plantation treatments. We've got currently a 300-acre mastication contract that'll be going this summer in there. We've got our agency machines masticating in there for burn prep. This fall, we plan to continue prescribed burning in there. And we really appreciate the support of the Fire Safe Council and the support of the public getting that word out and putting up with our smoke. It's for the best. Then moving clockwise, got the I-zone treatments that we're continuing from last year. So those are on the edge of Forest Service ownership, and working south into Highway 89 project, which we should be able to get into next year at Azalea. We call it the Azalea area. It's a big block of land, I guess, between kind of in the corner there between 89 and I-5. And we'll be doing burn prep in there to burn that in the coming years. And then on the other side of the highway, of course, we have the big South Fork project. We received SNC grant money to get started with implementation in there. And any day now, we're waiting to hear if we received even more grant money to fill in the gaps between our agency timber sales that will happen in there, the SNC funded fuels reduction that will happen in there, and then this other grant, CWRRP grant, will fill in all the gaps but right up to all the excellent work that Dan Blessing and the Shasta Valley RCD is going to do along that border. So lots of really good complementary and continuous treatments planned for that area. And then moving north from there, moving clockwise around, we'll have South Fork Phase 2, which will probably come out under a different name, but we'll start working on that planning. And within that is the Rainbow Ridge Fuel Break, which we plan on opening back up. A lot of you are probably familiar with Rainbow Ridge. We had a fuel break up there years ago, and it's in need of some maintenance. So we'll start doing that either this year if they give us money, or maybe next year. And then let's see, going north of that, we get into the Klamath Basin WCS landscape, and we've got the Parks Trinity fuel break lined up. We'll probably award that this year, but they've got some pretty tight timelines with Northern Spotted Owl limiting operating periods. So they might not get actually started on that work until next year. And I can keep the group posted on any of these projects, including that one. And then I guess the one that I missed, I'll go back to the Everett. The Everett is, we're snagging the Everett out. We're reducing all those roadside hazards. CAL FIRE's helping. We're just getting anybody that needs saw training and wants to fall snags. We're getting them up on that road as a starting point for some kind of action for all those snags up on the side of the Everett. So, or on the side of Mount Shasta. So the Everett is a starting place, and we've got a planning area identified up there, and it'll be up to our new district ranger, Joe Rodarm, to prioritize, where exactly that or when we get started on that planning area. So those are our projects in a nutshell. And other than that, ERCs are in the normal range for this time of year. They're climbing. Same with burning index, it's climbing. They're about at the 60th percentile. Fuel moistures are dropping which is normal for this time of year. And we're going into fire season, and that's where we're at. And that is my update, unless anybody has any questions.
That's great, Brian. Gosh, you
Thank you,
guys
Brian.
are really doing a lot of stuff. So anybody have questions for Brian? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions, Brian. Based on this time of the year, what would you say the SHMU staffing level is?
We're as staffed up as we're going to be. We're fully staffed. We've done all the hiring we can do for the season. Our fire managers are confident in the staffing. It could always be better. You know, we do have some challenges with hiring, but we have less challenges than other areas. So we're feeling pretty confident with where we're at with staffing.
Good, good. We've got reports from a number of forests that throughout California that many are only at 2/3 level of staffing. I think it's no secret that there's a mass exodus of Forest Service firefighters leaving the force because of pay parity, not being in line with units such as CAL FIRE. And I just spoke again to Reva Duncan, who heads up the Grassroots Foundation that is working in Congress to get pay parity. And it's a long time coming when you consider, as an example, a CAL FIRE captain and his base pay is double the base pay of a district ranger with the Forest Service. District ranger in the Forest Service, as Carolyn will gladly supplement, is 150 to 200 people that she supervises or indirectly supervises versus a fire captain that typically supervises 8 to 10 people or less. So there certainly needs to be equity there, and it's been a long time coming. And we certainly hate to see so many well-qualified, highly experienced Forest Service firefighters leaving the service. So anyone out there that would like to help support that endeavor, again, go to the Grassroots Wildland Firefighter Foundation, go to your congressman. Wally Herger, our local congressman, sits on that subcommittee that will help move this along. And as such, Wally has not got off the dime. I've been in close correspondence with him. I'm not going to go into any details, but he's lost somewhere. So he needs to be encouraged, to put it mildly, to do what he needs to do for justice for our firefighters.
Well, moving along, I forgot to introduce Dale. And Dale, he's going to take it from here. Dale, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Dale Nova. I've been one of the coordinators of the Mount Shasta Area Fire Safe Council for 22 many years, I think, and worked on a lot of stuff throughout the county, working in the leadership of the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County for almost 20 years. But because of health problems, I've stepped back considerably from that. Meanwhile, we've got a lot of good people out there that have helped us accomplish some mighty good things, such as the fuel break that goes all the way around Mount Shasta City that we completed in 2014. We're going to talk about that soon. And that was a very concerted effort with the Forest Service, first setting the pace and us following, and some other folks like the McConnell Foundation and some other large holders, timber holders, also filling in the gaps. So we're going to also give kudos to our Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County, who has been very supportive of the Fire Safe Council here locally and all of our local Fire Safe Councils. They're the ones that have really paved the way for us to get many of our grants here in Mount Shasta. In fact, probably 90% of our grants were accomplished working with the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. And in that regard, over 75% of our grants that funded those fuel breaks that surround Mount Shasta City were from the Forest Service. So we're very grateful of the Forest Service as being a partner with us.
Yes, we are. So any questions about our past fuel breaks in Mount Shasta? Any comments?
Yeah, I had one. This is Marlene. I don't know how to raise my hand and or whatever.
That's okay. There's not that many of us. Just speak
okay.
up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, as you go past my house and you're on it turns Old McLeod turns into 31. There's some private lumber sales, I guess, that have gone up there. And it seems like, they'll have these huge piles of branches and stuff that they leave there like forever. Do we have does anybody else, like the Forest Service or whatever, have any control over that where they could say, hey, this isn't cool, you've got to masticate it or something and not let it sit there that long? Or
That would be on Brian Murphy. He's still here, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
speak to that a little bit. I'm not as familiar with some of the policies and regulations on the private side of the logging industry, but I can tell you that the reason that they're letting those top piles sit there is to let them dry out. So what they do is they cut a tree down, they skid it to the landing, they take the top and the branches off it, they put the bowl on a log truck, it goes to the mill. The tops and the branches sit there in a giant pile to dry out, sometimes so they can chip it and then haul it as biomass to a mill so the mill can burn it to create electricity, or they let it dry out so that they can burn it in the winter when there's snow on the ground. So I don't know specifically the piles you're talking about, but that's the process.
well, and actually some of it I don't think is private land. I think it's the US Forest Service, because my house is at the top of Old McLeod and it's the next turn off to the right. I forget what the Forest Road service number is, but
Yeah, I think
huge.
Marlene, you're talking about the azalea timber sale, and that was active this past winter. And yes, there are restrictions, and Brian can talk to this too. But there are timeframes in terms of when material has to be removed. But just like he said, it's in the contract. They do like to let the piles dry out. We do definitely worry, or the Forest Service definitely worries about, how long piles are out there and wants them removed in a timely manner. But that is a standard operating procedure, and they are watched, by the timber sale staff. So yeah, I think that azalea area, and that's something that Giselle and Dale have been able to tie into with some of their project work on private property. So again, the intent was to make this really very a defensible space for all of Mount Shasta by protecting us on our, if you will, the south flank, coming up from the Sacramento River, which was an area of concern. So quite honestly, I was delighted to see all that work, but I do agree with you. There are piles, they are lined, so they are safe, and will be burned at some point in probably this fall or winter, or removed, as Brian said.
Well, I mean,
Brian, you can correct me.
Yeah, if it's done at that point, it would be great, because sometimes they seem to slip people's mind and there they sit for a lot longer.
Yeah,
And
no,
Marlene?
it's a contractual thing, and there are some cases where they can ask for extensions, but there is a time limit. So yeah, I agree with you.
Because these are huge.
question.
They're really, really tall.
And Marlene, there are some inholdings, that is to say, private land within the national forest up above you on the 31 road. And that is known as SRA or state responsibility area jurisdiction, which would fall under forced practice inspection work by CAL FIRE. And if there's any logging that takes place up there on a SRA, the logger has 18 months at the end of the logging to complete all fields work. And that is all fields work, burning, chipping, etc. Also including limb ups on the leaf trees. So if you know there's some piles up there on private land that has been there more than a year and a half, you might want to get in contact with CAL FIRE. I would encourage you to call Steve Wilson, the Chief of Resource Management in Wairika, and express your concerns about it. In regard to burn piles, the nice thing about burn piles is they're all congregated in one spot and usually a quarter mile apart or more, usually, but sometimes more close. And that way, all those fuels have been removed from the forest floor. So being in piles, there is less opportunity for conflagrative wildfire than if it was spread out 3 feet deep with slash. So that's the good news.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Sure.
Right. Any more questions concerning that item? Then let's move along to Firewise communities. And so we all have learned through the insurance industry that if you become a Firewise community, there's a possibility you could get a discount on your homeowner's insurance. And we've got our expert here, Kristen. Kristen, you want to talk about Firewise communities to this group?
I can. I hope I don't get spotty reception coming down into the canyon in Dunsmuir. So, yeah, we are really trying to activate community members all over the county to step up and kind of be leaders for their neighborhoods and talk to their not just their property boundary immediate neighbors, but the greater neighborhood to get a minimum of 7 other property owners. You need a minimum of 8 to get a Firewise community started. And yeah, there's still a little bit, I guess, of gray area about you know, oh, am I cutting out? Can you hear me okay? Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Are you there, Kristen? Did we lose
Yeah,
you?
I'm talking. I think you might have lost me, did you lose me? Okay.
What should we do?
Okay, y'all. So if you want to become a Firewise community, and Greg, your area might want to be one, and then on the Old Stage Project, Diane Lynn, one of the core gals, lives out there. They could become a Firewise. And if you do, you can get up to 15% if your insurance company and agent agrees to it, up to 15% off your homeowner's insurance. And you may not lose your insurance if you're on the radar for losing it. So anyway, if you want to know more about Firewise, contact us, and you can just Kristen is just email us, and Kristen can get back to you and give you more information about that.
I don't see Tom March here. Are we on? Tom March is the road foreman for Caltrans in this area, and I thought he would be plugging in today. But anyway, he gave me the information that they want to continue their mastication work along the I-5 corridor. They certainly want to pick up the Wagon Wheel Drive area of Caltrans right away and the north end of Mount Shasta. So that'll be forthcoming, most likely when the weather cools off. Though we're getting at the point now where mastication can be pretty dicey, where mastication machines can possibly spark a fire under these dry conditions. So that would lead into the construction highway work that we've got going on. I got the bad news today from Tom that we're going to be impacted by massive road construction on the I-5 all through the Mount Shasta area all summer long. And I encouraged him to do his very best to have those construction crews keep one road open always for emergency traffic. And where there's a bottleneck, be real sure that CHPs are there so they can direct emergency services up that shoulder as necessary, so we don't have another fiasco like we had at the Mount Shasta City Park when that guy was killed or died. Actually had a heart attack and a car wreck and a fire that he started during that construction in 2019. Return.
Anything else? Okay, let's move on then to fuel reduction contractors availability. This was a question that was asked us. We have a contractors list if anybody wants it, with about 25 to 50, I don't know, contractors on there. It's up to you to get a hold of them. A lot of contractors are busy, although we're moving into fire season, so they're backing off. So if you're interested, email me and I will send you that contractors list. And then let's go to Shasta Valley Resource Conservation District.
Could I add one more thing?
What?
And anyone out there that gets a contractor off our list, we tell these contractors, if we get one legitimate complaint, they are taken off that list. So please give us feedback how those contractors are working. The guys that are on the top of the list are the ones that have been there the longest. They're the ones that have established themselves with very good reputations. And your feedback is really essential to us.
All right. Okay, Dan.
Hello. We got a few projects going on in the area. We're working in the West Mount Shasta Rainbow Ridge area, mostly in conjunction with Jefferson Resources. They're the forester for several of the landowners that we're working with. They're going out in front of a couple of these projects and doing a little bit of thinning. And then we're going to follow up once the timber sales are closed and come in and do a little bit of treatment of the understory. So they're not, they're just taking some of the overstory trees, and then we're going to follow up with mastication or handwork. We have a grant to do 1,500 acres currently in that Rainbow Ridge. It's kind of between Mills Meadow and down to the lake. And so we've started on that. I'd say we've done about 300 or 400 acres so far, and we've got a couple more contracts coming on board here in the next week or so. But we also got a second grant, a forest health grant, to do some more work. And this stuff is, like Brian said, it's going to be more up against the South Fork project. So on the west side of the lake, some of it, but then also some up on the new property that the land trust has, the Luganville property up there too. So we're going to be treating that, and then a couple of landowners west of that. So total about 3,000 acres of treatment. And like I mentioned before, some of it will have some canopy thinning beforehand, and then followed up, by some mastication handwork that we're going to do. So we're excited about that. We also have a defensible space grant that's going on. Mentioned that yesterday. We're going to do the defensible space around 100 homes in West Mount Shasta, again, in that same footprint. And we're looking at, 50 people have signed up. We're going to tomorrow, we're going to go out and do the bids for the first 8 properties, get some bids for those. And then we need another 50 landowners to sign up. So we're going to try to get a little bit more word out. So if anybody knows anyone or is interested in, getting that work done themselves, definitely contact us. on the Shasta Valley website is the sign up part of it. There's a portal there. And if once you sign up, we can get you in the queue and get working on it. And so that project, we're hoping to finish up by next year, I guess. So yeah, those are the main treatments within the Mount Shasta area that we're working on now.
Well, we have a couple of fellows here, Greg and Neil, that are in West Mount Shasta. Greg is our technical support and Neil's been a long time member. So they both live over there. So if they just need to go to your portal and sign up there and okay, the rest is. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think somebody mentioned that they live over along Eddy Circle area, and I think we have 3 or 4 people signed up in that area right now. So we're trying to put it together to get enough folks to go, and it's a heck of a good thing. I mean, I really appreciate that. The meeting yesterday that you guys put on, and with the Annie, the insurance person, and all that information that she gave out. It's really important that everybody understands these things. One of the people that's working on the grant now is just purchasing a home, and she's trying to get insurance, and it's difficult right now to navigate this. But these grants that are coming along, the stuff that that you guys are doing with the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County, and the one that we're doing down in Dunsmuir, and this one here, are all going to help people get insurance, keep insurance, reduce their bills and stuff. So it's important and stuff. And I wish I lived in the area that was covered by this too, because it would be a no-brainer to sign up. I think get a lot of work done because it's very expensive to get done by yourself, as we all know.
Are there any questions for Dan?
Dan, I have a question relative to Luganville Ranch.
Mhm.
We did a lot of planning and actually grant writing in that general area of the Deer Creek Road neighborhood. Are you planning to do some fuel reduction parallel to the Deer Creek Road on Luganville?
We're not really sure exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, it's the land trust that owns the property, and they're putting together a property plan for the area, and we're not part of that. But the grant itself would allow for that, Dale, and it's probably a good idea, and maybe should be. Maybe we'll talk to the land trust about doing that.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful, because as you may know, that's a one-way in, one-way out road, the Deer Creek.
Yeah, absolutely.
16 homes up there, and
Yeah.
it's a steep road going in, let alone for homeowners besides fire engines. And I'd love to see a 1/4-mile shaded fuel break along that perimeter there.
Yeah. No, that would be a good part of that, and we'll talk to the land trust about that. And
Well, thank
couldn't
you.
agree with you more. I see. Let's see. Kristen looks like had a question too. Are you able to take out larger hazard trees in the West Mount Shasta project? Yes, we are. So we can, take out large trees if we do. Take them down. We can't sell them or anything like that. They would have to, talk to an RPF to get that done. But we can fall stuff that are hazards.
Good. Dan, you also work with NRCS. I was seeing if Jim Patterson was going to weigh in, and then I found out he's on leave still. But talking to one of his assistants, she mentioned that there's no movement at this point on the Farm Bill, and that all the EQIP grant applications have been fulfilled for 2024. what can you tell us about the possibility of getting equip grants in the near future?
Well, yeah, the
Hold
good
on.
news,
Squirrel. Gotta
Yeah.
stop squirrels. Okay, go ahead.
That's my
yeah,
concept.
I get it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So, the good news is that all the properties that were put in, and there were a lot of them, and that were, that the analysis was done and stuff, and the foresters were able to get out there and do the forest management plans. So everything that we submitted actually got funded this year, which is amazing.
Amazing.
Because we were doing like
Yeah.
2 or 3 a year, and now we had like 10 of them or something,
Oh,
or 12 of
that's
them.
great.
Yeah, so that's the good news. The other news, from NRCS is that they've got a new forester coming. In fact, she's supposed to show up within the next couple of weeks.
Good.
And yeah, she'll be able to start, getting people that have already signed up, getting out there and doing those forest management plans and getting them in the queue. So this last year was great. We never know year from year, how it's going to go, but let's just keep getting people signed up when we can. No, and there was a couple landowners, I think, in the Hammond Ranch area that got funded this year, so
That's
not
great.
too far
Yeah.
away.
Good. Do you know of any other similar grants to the equip grant that could be coming up?
Not really. Within NRCS, no, that's the main one for that process.
And the WHIP grant program
RCPP is
abandoned.
a possibility, but that's, it's just feeds back into equip. So,
Yeah.
if somebody wanted to put together an RCPP, that would be great. It takes money and it dedicates it to a certain area.
I got it. Anybody else
Thanks,
have a
Dan.
question for Dan? And the RCD? Well, then we'll move on to fuel reduction reports. So, as we said, we finally are about to finish the paperwork on the Eddy Drive project, 150 acres of fuel reduction up and off of Old McLeod and in the Upland subdivision. We finished it over a year ago, but we had some paperwork pending, and we're getting real close and going to be able to close that one out. And then the Old Stage project, we've committed to about 150 acres. We've done 60, and we need, just like Dan said, we need more people to sign up. So if you live between Kentera and Ream along Old Stage or Azalea, 300 feet to either side, we would really like to get you signed up. And in the meantime, we're working for a revision to the NEPA so that we might be able to go up to 600 feet. And if we can, that would be great. Brian's looking into it for us, and we'll get our 150, but make the area. It's looking really good out there. Right in front of the resort. The Fries allowed us to do a whole bunch of mastication. That was a solid manzanita fill, and it has been reported that lions were in that field at one point. But anyway, we went 300 feet off the road and just really it doesn't look beautiful, but it was really dangerous how it was. So we got that piece, and all along the road, the people that haven't had the work done are really pleased. Now it's a combination of hand release and mastication. And Juan Coda Forestry is our contractor, and he and his crew do excellent work. They work well with residents, and they've done some nice stuff out there. So if you want to take a drive, go have a look. We're waiting right now. We have a CEQA that we're working on for Caltrans and Cal Fire from Azalea to Edgewood. And when the CEQA is done, then Caltrans will be able to do their fuel reduction on their right of way. But we have a 9-acre piece right there on the corner of Ream and Old Stage. And when the CEQA is done for Caltrans, we'll be able to complete that 9 acre, masticate that 9 acre piece. Now, when we masticate, we don't take everything unless it's nothing we can save. We try to keep all the trees we can and leave some little clumps of vegetation for animals and so on and so forth. And if it doesn't look good now, just wait a year. It'll all come back. It'll be 2 feet, 3 feet in a year.
Uh-huh.
So, and Marlene knows. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's the old stage. And for future projects, yes, Dale? Future projects, we're waiting for Stevens or other Forest Service grants to come open. We have submitted a couple of projects on the 89 around the old Eagle, Golden Eagle School and up where Long Hair is, where it's just solid manzanita again along that road. And all the way to I-5. It has not been funded, but when we get a chance, we hope to resubmit that and get some work done in that area, as well as Big Canyon. We did Big Canyon in 2012, I think. Go out there, it doesn't look like we touched it. So we want to get back to Big Canyon. And any more comments, Dale?
Well, when it's appropriate, I'd like to talk about our field break maintenance needs that we have on our field break around Mount Shasta City. Is this a good time?
Yeah, talk about it.
So relative to that, I contacted our numerous neighborhood coordinators. I'd already done a number of windshield surveys. And I gotta say, back to you, Brian, and the Forest Service, man, that work along the McLeod River Railroad that you completed, that mastication, is excellent. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, the work that we did along that same McLeod River Railroad in 2014 has grown up very significantly and is in dire need of maintenance. As you know, the McLeod River Railroad is defunct. The family still has an interest in the railroad, but not the money to maintain that right away. And it was going to revert to the Trail Association organization, I think. And that's kind of gone by the wayside. Carolyn, you might want to weigh in on that, but that and several other areas, and I'll talk about Cantera after Carolyn maybe would talk about the Trail Association work along the McLeod River Railroad.
Yeah, Dale, did you mean on the east side of the mountain or on the west side? I'm sorry.
That would be on the west side.
Yeah,
McLeod
yeah.
River
So
Road from Cross
yeah,
Petroleum all the way up to Cold Creek.
right. It seemed like the owner was not yet willing to, turn that over. They still had some idea that it's a viable railroad. So no, at this time, despite the efforts with Trail Association and local groups, it's still under private ownership. Yeah.
I see. And yet we have a lot of homes up in the Monte Shasta subdivision that back right up to that railroad. Looking at all the work that we did around those homes back in 2014, and we did 95% of the residentials along that perimeter there. And unfortunately, there's only 3 property owners that have maintained their field break work or their defensible space, unfortunately. But we're hopeful that we can encourage them, because that is a very critical area. There's a lot of recreation use up there. There's a lot of homeless that drift up that road coming out of the park. And we've had a lot of illegal fires. Meanwhile, going down to Cantera, Giselle and I met with a representative from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they are planning to treat that lower end finally. And if they get the funding, and they hope they do, they may start that in the fall. I've got a call into her, but I haven't got a call back to find out what is current. I talked to Mike Hunter, our neighborhood coordinator in the area. His family owns both sides of the road as you drop downslope off Cantera Road and head down to the river. The Hunter family and all of the relatives are very encouraged to have that done because, again, we've got a big homeless element down there, not like it used to be, thanks to a lot of the fuel reduction work that the Fire Safe Council did on the way down and the continuing efforts of the Sheriff's Department and the Forest Service in helping to keep those folks down there educated. So we have a good fuel break, I think, and Dan, you could maybe weigh in on this, still in place down there on the Mills Ranch at the north end of Rainbow Ridge. We established a half-mile wide fuel break or wider there across the Mill Ranch property, and Jefferson State Forestry and their contractors have done a good job, both in combination of mastication and other field treatments to maintain that. I haven't hiked up there though personally. What do you see there, Dan, on the north end where it meets the forest?
Yeah, we are building off of what you guys did to keep it going, right? And so and we're trying to move it along the property line there, towards that Eddy Circle area, and then up the hill on both sides of the Mills Meadow, and along the tracks too, because as we know, you get so many starts along those tracks. But that's the way we're doing it, right? Just all pitching in and doing a little bit.
Are you practicing your guitar while you're talking to us?
I'm having a good time.
Good.
Right on.
Maybe after we end, you can play us a tune. All righty. We'll move on if there's no questions to Community Wildfire Defense Grant. It's the $10 million grant that the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County got to do defensible space for 500 homes throughout Siskiyou County. We bought a app software. It's called Fire Aside, and we are going to be assessing homes with that app to help people learn what they need to do for themselves. Might do more than 500 homes for that, and then we'll treat 500 homes. We're also working on a matrix because this grant is for underserved folks and communities, and the matrix is going to help us decide where those communities are and what folks might be eligible. So we're getting close with our matrix, and stay tuned, keep checking the website, and we will have an application process, and you'll be able to apply when that is in place. So any questions about the Community Wildfire Defense Grant? Any comments? Carolyn or Kristen? Okay.
Well, then we'll move into open forum.
Wait, here she is. What?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's really exciting with all the money coming to Siskiyou County and the great work that Giselle and others have done to bring in the CWDG grant, and then the work that the Shasta Valley RCD is doing, and then the Forest Service. I mean, it's really showing that we're going to make our community much more fire resilient. So and we looked at the maps, just recently from CAL FIRE about our community, and no surprise, we're still at very high fire risk. So hopefully with these efforts and the ongoing work, we can really turn that around. So yeah, it's exciting. So I think we just gotta work together and get this information out to the community. And I know Kristen has been doing a great job, and also some of the folks from CORE. But it's an exciting time, sure.
It is. We're living in a unique time where there just happens to be a lot of money available for this kind of stuff. And in the early years of the Fire Safe Council, there wasn't funding. There is now. Our leaders and our government officials have recognized the need, especially in California, and they're just letting go of a lot of funding. And we are really appreciative that they are. So
I was gonna add one little thing too, that sorry, I got cut off coming down the canyon with the cell reception, and couldn't speak to the Firewise when you asked me to. But I want to circle back to that because that is kind of the next step in the process of, you know, doing the CWDG, you know, within, even for the folks that maybe don't fit into the matrix and qualify for having the defensible space cleared with the CWDG funding. Like Giselle said, we're going to be doing a lot of home assessments for folks, you know, that are at any socioeconomic level, and hand in hand with that will be a big push for, you know, getting these Firewise communities started, because that, you know, then people have the knowledge, they, you know, they have their checklist of what needs to be addressed on their property. And, you know, then hopefully that will start the momentum and get that critical mass and get folks all going in the same direction and talking to their neighbors and creating that community network.
Kristen, would you talk a little bit about a new Genesis program as compared to the alert systems that are in place now, and how it's changed and what people need to know?
Yeah, that's another big thing we're pushing out. It's reminiscent of when we were trying to push out Zone Haven for on behalf of you know, the county OES, when no one even knew what Zone Haven was, and we were the only ones out in the community at all these, you know, 18 to 20 some odd events all over the county. And you know, Cal US is not there telling people that they need to do this stuff, so we're kind of their front person, putting the word out. And so yeah, then we're doing that all over again, and there's even more confusion now, and you know, people, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating for some folks. Like, well, I was already signed up for all this stuff, and you're telling me it's all changing again. So yeah, so Code Red, that's been around forever, is now being replaced with the Ready Siskiyou 911 system, and everyone who was in Code Red system was supposed to get automatically switched over to the new system, but that didn't happen 100%. And so they did, you know, the test alert, and we had our first outreach event of the year, that like 3 days after the test alert went out, and we were like surveying people to see if they got it, and like maybe half people who said they were signed up for Code Red got the new Ready Siskiyou 911 alert. So that was not a very good ratio. And so so yeah, having, you know, people are definitely hearing from folks that they're frustrated they have to go and do this rigmarole all over again to get the right alert system set up. So but we're out there, we're doing it. Telling folks we need to get more handouts from Cal OES because we're already out of their handouts. Core staff is working on getting those. So yeah, so and then Genesis bought out gosh, now I'm blanking.
Code Red?
So,
Did they buy out Code Red or what?
yeah, no, just Zone Haven. Sorry, thank you. See, there's so many, I can't even keep them straight. Yeah, so Genesee. So after we got everyone all lined out and signed up for Zone Haven, and then that changed. So people are like, "What is going on?" So yeah, so Genesee. So what used to be Zone Haven is now Genesis. I don't know how you pronounce it, but so yeah, that's the status. Instead of Code Red, we have Ready Siskiyou 911. And I will say Cal OES has done a better job about getting the word out with that. Just with, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the highway signs that are on ramps throughout the county. I've seen 3. So that's good. They're getting the word out that way. And of course they're utilizing social media, but you know, there's a huge demographic of our county that isn't on social media. So yeah, and then Zone Haven, the app, if anyone that doesn't have the app, it's now called Genesis, or it's a weird spelling, GENASYS is I think how they spell it, Genesis. And that's replaced Zone Haven.
Yeah, I believe it's pronounced Genesis, which means the beginning. So, but we don't know for sure. Any questions? I think Dale has one.
Not to jump ahead, Kristen, could you share to people who may not have ever signed up for red zone or any other evacuation process. We've already had one evacuation, as some of you know, up in the Black Mountain, Beswick road here a few days ago, relative to that 20+ acre fire. And fire season's upon us. Let us not forget the day after 4th of July, 2019, I think, we had the Klamathon fire where 3 people died in the Hornbrook area. And that fire swept across thousands of acres and raged for well over 2 weeks. That's only a month away. Who knows what's going to be tomorrow? We don't know. But I think evacuation has to be always at the forefront. We can talk about fuel reduction and all this other stuff, but we got to put the horse in front of the cart. And evacuation is so very important.
Okay.
Yeah,
what
I
you
was
sign up-
gonna say we should try to, I don't know who's has the best rapport, point of contact with the sheriffs. I have put invitation out to my childhood friend I grew up with, who's a CHP in Mount Shasta, saying, hey, we really want to get you guys coming to our monthly meetings. But I haven't heard back from him, so I can try calling.
OES has
bugging
a
him little
standing
more.
invitation every month.
I know, and they
We'll
used to when I
follow up
first
with them,
started 2 years
that's very
ago.
important.
They came every time. I mean, they were consistent. The sheriff was there, CHP there. I mean, that so they definitely used to come, but they've kind of fallen off. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know who would be best to try to call and rouse them to start coming again. But we could put it on. I mean, we could put it on as an action item on our agenda of addressing,
Right.
you know, with Cal OES, like we talked about last night, that we want to have an actual action item of evacuation and the notification systems and whatnot. So
Yeah, we're gonna ask Brian to come back next month, maybe,
Yeah. And he was
Okay.
invited to this meeting too.
So anyway, open forum deal.
Yeah. So anyone that has anything that they'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about or haven't talked about enough, let's take 3 minutes each for anyone that would like to jump in during the open forum period.
I was just gonna say, I don't know, it's not as bad up where you guys are, but down here in the canyon, it's real smoky. So in case anyone starts asking, or your neighbors or folks, or you see it in social media, it's good to direct people to watch duty, because you can see the prescribed burns that are 3 prescribed burns down in the South Reading area. One of which Alex, my husband with the McConnell Foundation, spearheaded with CAL FIRE, which is the largest prescribed burn ever done in California at just over 900 acres. So
Wow.
they did that on the McConnell
story.
Foundation Gore Ranch yesterday and today. And Larry Turman with our Siskiyou County CAL FIRE unit has been down there doing all kinds of, he's one of our burn bosses here in Siskiyou County. He's been doing a bunch of trainings along with that. So that's great, but that's where the smoke is coming from, in case anyone starts freaking out.
Yeah. Greg, your hand's up.
Neil.
Yeah, I've asked Gazelle, I've asked this before, and unfortunately, what's the possibility of getting Old Stage Road, having the trees cleared back a ways, so if there's a fire, people will actually be able to get out?
Yeah, well, we would have to find funding for that. And I don't know if Dan's grant would cover Old Stage Road and tree removal in the right of ways. But yeah, it is an issue. Currently, the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County does not have funding. We could write for future funding. But Dan, does your grant cover the right of way and tree removal along Old Stage?
Yeah, well, as you know, there's a lot of property owners there. And so, you'd have to get all of them signed up and to do anything. So, I guess where we're working along Old Stage, we could do that. But in general, I'm trying to think if we have anybody that's directly adjacent to the road that's signed up at the moment. But yeah, there is possibility, a lot of, past grants have really focused on that, but you know how hard it is to get everybody along a road to actually agree to those types of treatments is, you know, it's just a challenge.
Yeah,
So-
large tree removal is not only expensive, but a lot of times the people that have them close to the, don't want to get rid of them. So
Yeah.
you got to convince them both ways. So large trees are, I would say, kind of problematic, but there's hope. So,
And to add to that, some from my history, being a former tree service contractor to the county and working the South County for a number of years, like Giselle said, it is very expensive. The county doesn't have a lot of money, but that was one of the questions that I was hopeful that our supervisor, Ed Valenzuela, was going to field today. He was invited to participate. I left messages for him and apparently couldn't make it, but we do need to consider having our Public Works Department take responsibility on their right of way, which is on average 33 feet from the center line of county roads, plus or minus. That's the average. A lot of those trees that could be a threat, such as trees that go all the way down to the ground and can ladder field fire up, often are off that right of way. And people need to be educated about how important it is to maintain their defensible space. And that should include the county road in front of them. There are statutes, and we lightly delved on ordinances that are already in place in Siskiyou County. We have climbed that ladder before with Ray Haupt, who was a strong advocate for us through the Board of Supervisors, to not only revamp some of those archaic ordinances, but establish new ones. Siskiyou County's not just poor. Siskiyou County is about broke. Part of that reason is our economy, the lack of timber sales coming out of our national forests, and probably mostly our huge homeless population, which is just about increased Siskiyou County population, about 25,000 during the summer months that Siskiyou County is supporting. As a result, we're just skimming the surface with our road maintenance throughout the county. And I wish Ed were able to address that, but hopefully I'll get some feedback from him shortly and I'll contact you directly and we can talk more about that, okay?
Good.
But I appreciate your concern there, Neil, and you're not alone.
anybody else for the open forum?
Thanks.
Mhm.
Hey, action items,
County OES.
you go ahead, Dale, give you an update.
Yeah, County OES. And Kristen, if it's okay, when you have the time, I'm going to delegate that to you to contact our Director of County OES. Encourage him to get plugged in on our meetings throughout the county, particularly the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County, and that we get up to date and good literature available to our public and disseminated in as many places as we can, not only through our fire safe councils, but everywhere possible, libraries, yaka yaka.
Alrighty, yeah, I can do that. I know he's notoriously difficult to hear back from, but I will definitely email and call him.
Thank you.
Ruby, did you have any noteworthy things that we need to do for our next quarter? Did you see anything in there?
No, nothing I can see.
Okay. All right, then.
Is there somebody who has a good connection or rapport with the sheriff's office that would want to call them and
I can call them. I'll call him.
invite them to our
Okay.
next
Right.
Fire Council Siskiyou County meeting?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll try
Number
my
one
CHP
item
friend.
It's
CHP friend.
tying into our neighborhood coordinators on our field breaks around Mount Shasta City. I've already contacted virtually all of them, and I will persist to have them encourage getting people to step up, maintain their defensible space, maintain those field breaks that are in their backyards, and give us feedback how we can help more. And meanwhile, as you guys work through your own neighborhoods, remember the key word, delegation. Delegate to your next door neighbor what they can do to be more fire safe, because it is a concerted effort. It's a neighborhood effort. If it's not done in the neighborhood, no matter how well Dale is at his house being fire safe, it isn't good enough if my next door neighbor is not. You know that story.
All right, y'all. Well, our next meeting is in September, September 12th. Do you know, Dale, that may not work for us, but we'll give it a try. It's Thursday, September 12th, and we will send out a
First Thursday, not the second. Is there a problem there? Where's your calendar?
let's look to see.
Yeah, let's take a peek at that calendar and make sure we're good on that. Typically, we meet the first Thursday of the month, so we're not in close conflict with the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. But this week, we decided to tie the two together.
At the 5th. I thought it was the second Thursday.
Yeah, let's plan on the 5th. Same time, if that's okay, by Zoom. 5th of September at 5:30. Does that sound doable?
Sure. One little thought I just had maybe to put on action items for next meeting, Ruby, is I don't know, we should talk to Stephen Decatur. I guess I'm delegating this to myself. Because we should look into the second phase of this, I believe it's Cal OES funding that is getting these hazard mitigation planners in place for Dunsmuir, Wairika, and Doris got those 5-year grants in the first phase. And I believe, if I remember right, Stephen said that there will be subsequent phases, because Mount Shasta should, I know they were having a hard time even filling their normal city planner position for a long while. I don't know what the status is on that. They ever found anyone and filled that position? But I mean, Stephen Decatur came from Colorado for the Dunsmuir position. And it was actually Owen, I don't know, I forget his last name, Owen, who's Brian Shinone's new assistant at County OES. His wife just filled the Wairika hazard mitigation planner position, and I believe the Doris planner position is still unfilled, but just something to think about and look into, I guess, for Mount Shasta to maybe put a application in for that, because man, is it a game changer for Dunsmuir.
Yeah, well, Stephen is really, really proactive and already getting Firewise communities up and running. He's really pushing it. And so it's very, pleasing to see that happen.
So I'll
Great.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll look into that and
That's a
see
good thought, Kristen.
what
Thank
the
you.
next phase of that is, and if we can put an application in for that.
All right. Well, y'all, unless I see Tom Sampson's here. Tom, you've been quiet. Is there anything you would like to add or say? He didn't hear us, I guess. So anyway, well, thank you for coming. Thank all of you for coming and being
Yeah,
a part
thank
of
you so
this.
much.
And together we will move forward and create a more Firewise community, hopefully.
Are safe.
So anyway, I'm here if you want to talk to me or email me or call. So, and so is Dale. So, all right, you guys.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
ya.
you both for everything.
Oh, thank you, Marlene.
Thank you. And thank you, Greg, for all your great work helping us with all this technical assistance. You're
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. So you can probably stop the recording, Greg, if you want.